This is Keep Buggering On. Fair warning, everything you are about to hear is true, and none of it is going to make you feel better about humanity. Let's do this. I may be drunk, but you're ugly, and in the morning, I'll be sober. That's the line. Maybe Winston Churchill said it. Maybe he didn't. Maybe his own daughter is still sitting somewhere right now saying, absolutely not. My father would never. And honestly, fair, because we're about to find out this joke is older than electricity. My friend, are you ready to laugh? Huzzah. Because today we've got Churchill insulting a woman's entire face. My bread personally betraying me in my own kitchen repeatedly. This is a pattern now. And the actual scientific reason you're furious at your husband over a milk question when your real enemy is your insurance company. Here's the version everybody's heard. Churchill leaving the House of Commons one night in 1946. Runs into Labour MP Bessie Braddock. And she says, Winston, you're drunk. He says, without even slowing his walk, allegedly. And you, my dear, are ugly, but I'll be sober in the morning. Oof, brutal, iconic, probably not real, or at least not original. And I need you to sit with that for 1 second, because the actual story underneath is so much funnier than the legend. First, did it ever happen? The only person who ever claimed to witness it was a Scotland Yard bodyguard telling the story decades after the fact. Churchill's own daughter didn't believe a word of it. Said her father was always gallant with women. Full stop. End of discussion. And this didn't sound like him at all. So we've got one guy's memory on one side and the man's actual daughter going, nope, on the other. No recording, no newspaper, just vibes repeated for 80 years until the vibes became history. And here's the part that really gets me. Even if he said it, he definitely didn't invent it. There's a 1934 W.C. Fields movie where Fields gets accused of being drunk and snaps back, yeah, and you're crazy. I'll be sober tomorrow. You'll be crazy for the rest of your life. Same skeleton, different insult. And that bit shows up in print as far back as 1882, over 60 years before Churchill was even supposedly in that hallway. The story goes, some drunk guy on a street was getting heckled by a politician and firing back almost the exact same line. This joke has been getting handed down, recycled, and reattached to whoever's famous enough to make it stick for nearly 150 years. Churchill didn't write it. He's just the most famous coat hook it ever landed on. And sorry, side note, but I have to say this. Isn't it wild that we do this to people? We take a joke nobody can verify, attach it to the most quotable man in British history, and then defend it like it's scripture if anybody questions it. I have done this. I've told a story about my own grandmother that I'm starting to be suspicious might have actually happened to my aunt. Family stories do the exact same thing historical quotes do. They just don't have a Wikipedia page about it yet. Anyway, Here's the actual point hiding underneath that punchline. And I want to be careful here because it's easy to hear this and think the joke's at the expense of being drunk. It is so not. And that's not what we're doing. Being drunk on a Tuesday wears off. You sober up. You're definitely embarrassed, but you do better tomorrow. Nothing shameful about a rough night followed by a better morning. What that line's actually circling is the difference between a bad night and a bad character. One wears off by morning. The other doesn't, no matter how many mornings you throw at it. And the real skill isn't landing the comeback. It's knowing which one you're actually looking at and knowing when to stop standing in the rain, waiting for weather that was never going to change. And speaking about things that never change, sounds offhand, but it ties in. Me and bread, we have a long-standing agreement to screw each other over every chance we get. Not just the baking, the carbs, the weight gain, the occasional choke, all of it. We don't like each other at all. We have never liked each other. And here's the evidence in 3 acts, because at this point, it's basically become a crime pattern. Act 1, I make a loaf that comes out perfect. A golden top, a little crackle when you tap it, that hollow knock that means the inside's actually done. I set it on the stove to cool, like a responsible adult who's actually read the recipe. And I walk away for what I will swear, under oath, mind you, was a reasonable amount of time. I come back, and what's sitting there is not bread anymore. It's a slab of naan. It flattens itself out of pure spite the second I leave the room, like it's been waiting for privacy to collapse in. Same ingredients, same oven, same me. One version, golden, smug, ready for that Instagram photo. The other, flat, betrayed, looks like it has personally went through something that should never be talked about. And another time, I got cocky. I tried a quick, no-need recipe because I'd watched it work on a video, which I'm pretty sure now was clearly filmed by a witch. Everything she touched rose like it owed her money. Mine came out with the structural integrity of a wet paper towel. Didn't rise, didn't fall, just gave up early. The way I give up on New Year's resolutions, historically, by the way, sometime around January 9th. And the last one, this one genuinely still haunts me. I forgot bread was in the oven for so long that what came out could have been used as a roofing shingle. My smoke detector got involved. Naturally, they always do. My dogs, they left the room. Now that's how you know it's bad. When the dogs, who will literally eat anything, including strange objects off the ground outside, look at your bread and go, nope, we're good. See, nobody warns you about this. You can do every single step correctly and still end up with naan or a paper towel or a roof shingle, entirely depending on the bread's mood that day. The process was right. The outcome simply didn't care. With this history, I believe, and I could be wrong, that I genuinely have a reason to be angry at bread. But what about the times when we're not actually mad at the person standing right next to us? This is completely invented, But I will bet you money you've lived a version like this at some point. Somebody you love asks one normal sentence, something like, "Hey, did you grab milk?" And you respond with the emotional force of a person who has just been personally betrayed by NATO. Why? Why would I have milk? Why would you even ask me that? And they're standing there holding the sandwich, utterly blindsided because they asked about milk. That's their whole crime. Milk. Here's what usually actually happened hours before that poor person knows nothing about. 45 minutes on hold with your insurance company, yay. Transferred twice, hung up once, called ma'am or sir by someone who sounded like they were still in braces. That's who you're actually furious at. The milk question just had the bad luck of being the first soft target to wander into the blast radius. Nobody pulled a pin. Somebody just happened to be standing closest when it went off. Or maybe you've had that video call trying to sound confident in front of your boss, and your Wi-Fi drops at the exact second you start talking. But then it runs flawlessly for the next 4 hours of you doing absolutely nothing important. Scrolling Instagram for the latest gossip, the latest health tip, whatever. But it's not important. The router isn't broken. It actually hates you specifically, and it has incredible timing. Or, just for a moment, you're in a checkout line behind somebody counting out exact change, one coin at a time, like they are diffusing a bomb. And we begin to feel genuine, specific rage rising up at a total stranger we'll never see again over maybe 90 seconds of our life. That person didn't ruin your day. Your day was already ruined. They just happened to be standing in front of you when you finally noticed. None of these. The milk, the router, the change counter started the fire. They just happened to be standing closest when something, somewhere else entirely, finally went off. We've got 4 dogs and a cat in our house. Correction for context. 4 dogs and a cat in an apartment. And my 2 big boys have taught me more about misdirected range than any therapy session ever has. Bills are due. A KBO design isn't printing the right colors. A deadline is breathing down my neck. Totally normal Tuesday, right? Nothing dramatic is happening. And my 2 big boys picked this exact moment to stage what can only be described as a full home invasion of my bed, the place I go and try to calm my mind, to get a little rest, to prep for the next day, my bed. They are running, jumping, spinning, knocking pillows onto the floor like the pillows personally wronged them. And in their heads, I promise you, the only thing happening is do-do-do, 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 do-do-do-do, a happy, happy little tune. Pure joy, zero malice. None, not an ounce of malice. In my head, that exact sound lands as do this, do that, do. Oh, and by the way, do not forget a full drumbeat of the do demand, like the universe has handed me a to-do list with a metronome strapped to it. Same noise, 2 completely different translations, depending entirely on how much stress was already loaded into my body into my mind, into the entire room before they ever showed up. And it's not just the bed, it's the cat deciding 2 a.m. is networking hour. It's one dog who has decided with total conviction that our neighbor is a war criminal who must be barked at daily without fail. None of that is the dogs doing anything wrong. They're being gloriously exactly what dogs are. The problem was never on the bed or at the window or anywhere near 2 a.m. The problem was already fully loaded in my chest before any of them ever walked in. Now at KBO, we've taken some liberties. We didn't think it was quite appropriate to print, "I may be drunk, but you're ugly, and in the morning I'll be sober," on a t-shirt or a hat. So we switched that a little bit. The world is ugly. Keep buggering on. And I think that captures what's actually happening in every single one of these situations we talked about. Churchill or whoever really said it. Because at this point, your guess is as good as mine. Drew a real line between a temporary state and a permanent character flaw. And that line still holds up 140 years later. Recycled joke and all. My bread keeps finding new and increasingly creative ways to betray me, despite my doing everything right. Because some outcomes just aren't ours to control, no matter how clean the process was. And the milk, and the router, the dogs, and the guy counting change, they keep absorbing wars that actually started somewhere else. Usually a phone call you had 4 hours before you ever encountered these poor victims. The world stays ugly. That's not really a metaphor. That's closer to a permanent weather report. The actual skill is figuring it out in the moment, whether the thing in front of you caused the storm or just happened to be standing there when it landed. And how do you plan to just keep buggering on? Now, I could tell you to go outside, take a walk, breathe some air, lower your blood pressure, but I'm not going to, because I personally deal with the ugliness of the world by reading something that makes me even more furious and then complaining about it to my dogs, who honestly don't even care slightly. And that is pretty much working out great for me so far. So here's where today actually lands. If you look at it as a whole, the world is ugly. Keep buggering on. Some things wear off by morning. Some things just don't. And a lot of the time, the thing you're mad at isn't even the thing that's wrong. It's just the nearest thing. The bread, the dog, the milk question. None of them did it. They were just standing there. Real quick update on the store and this episode's design. The world is ugly. Keep buggering on. It's in the works right now. Not live yet, but it's coming. Same as the rest of them. One episode, one shirt, one truth at a time. KBO Standard Supply. Where the mindset. We've checked. It's real. You're not going to believe it. See you next time. And take care of yourself. Keep buggering on.